we'll dive right in as well. I'm just going to get what you'll get used to with me is these little timers here, and that's just to keep us kind of time boxed and moving us through the process. So it's clear, and a lot of times what happens when we're working in teams and groups, there's lots more input, many more ideas, lots of discussion that we're going to have, but we're going to use time little boxes and these exercises to sort of guide those discussions rather than get sort of lost in them and then not be able to come out of a meeting with something tangible. So we're picking up on this kind of work that you've been going through this series of workshops around connecting with other businesses and collaborating with other businesses and using those collaborations to sort of either innovate or adapt your business or a new business idea. Basically, with all of the market changes following the pandemic, then we're using a lot of these collaborations as a way to, let's say, shorten your supply chain, or at least kind of lower the cost of overheads of supply chain as well. So there's lots of benefits to using these collaborations to getting ideas off the ground, and now more than ever then to be leveraging off other services and so I'd say suppliers that are around you. So the first exercise that we go to is more like a check-in. It's more like where are we up to at the moment. So if everyone's on their browser, you'll be able to see the orange whiteboard and exercise number 1. And basically we need to kind of drop a few little notions. And I like to start with the things that are going well. First, it's easy to always dwell on the things that could be better. But first of all, it would be great if we all check in from your perspective as well in your business. What are the things that you're up to right now that seem to be moving your business forward a little bit more in terms of the collaborations or developing new ideas and new business sort of revenue streams there. So what I tend to do there is put on a little timer, but we'll have 4 minutes to just drop a post-it down there. For example, at the moment, I'm doing things like running collaborative workshops online. So I would note that down just for myself, from my own perspective. Doing that seems to be working and moving a few things forward for my organization. And everybody does this from their perspective, because even though we're all maybe in different businesses, often the challenges that we're all working on are fairly similar. And obviously, if we're all trying to get ourselves forward a little bit in terms of collaborations. Oh, that one was locked. I'll just try and make sure that that's locked. Yep, hopefully that won't just spin around now. So really do it from your perspective, but what we will start to see is there are some things that actually are relevant to us all right? So with your mouse, and I'll put 4 minutes up on this clock, with your, on your whiteboard, and just drop things above the waterline. We need to sort of imagine that everything above the waterline are the things moving our boat forward. The things we'll move on to later are kind of the anchor holding us back. But let's focus on everything above the waterline. All right, and I'll put some, let's just put on a little bit of background music as well, so that we can cover the typing. Sometimes they find that their brain zooms in a little bit more when he's got some background noise. So let's get that going. Oh, that's not. So any thoughts that and it could be things that your staff are doing as well, reaching out, writing emails. Has anyone sort of started checking in with other businesses? it's not working. I'll just grab those. The timer's still going there. You've still got about 2 minutes to drop down the things that are moving you forward. As you say, like things that you've met some folks, or maybe some exercises, or some of the preparation and research work that you've done. If you've spoken to some customers, I would note those things down. Those are definitely moving you forward in collaborations. Did you? Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Joe. So you're in there this time. That's good. I'm just catching up on that message. I'll just get there. Choose. And last minute. All right, that time has gone off. Probably will hear these little beeps. That just means that we're going to move through to the next part. Let's have a look at what we've got there, because these things are always the easiest to look over if you don't then kind of check in with your team about what's been done and what things are actually working for us. And we'll get through to read all those things shortly. So let's turn our attention then, if we've been thinking about those actions that have been moving these collaborations or these connections, if we're really just trying to establish the relationships as well, these are the things that have been moving us forward. What are the things that may be holding us back right now? So if there's like the connections there, we're hoping to aim and make those connections, but there might be things holding us back, for example, not the right events or something like that might be a bit of a problem as well. So do think now for the next 4 minutes. I'll put the timer back up on the clock here, and then we'll have another 4 minutes, and everything now posting below the waterline. And those will be the things that just could maybe be holding us back, or we're not even sure about it, even if it's things that you haven't written an email or you haven't made that telephone call, things like that. This is the time just to sort of get it out of your brain. Feel free to jump into any of these yellow post-its down here. And I've got that timer on as well. So 4 minutes to just think about through those things that are probably could be holding us back. All right. Oh, right. So Joe, you just need to scroll a little bit over to the right-hand side. I'll move over there and see where you are. Okay, there. So if you can find a way in the bottom right-hand side of the bottom of the tool, there's this kind of map. And if you're in move mode, which means have the hand switched on, then you'll be able to move over to the right-hand side. I can drag your post-its in over. If you follow my cursor, you'll get there. I've dragged in some post-its of yours as well, Joe. Is this one? Yeah. Still about 30 seconds for over and off. There you go, Joe. You're over. You're slowly getting there. If you zoom out as well, down in that bottom right-hand map, sometimes you can zoom out, and that might be a faster way to get over to the other. There's my mouse. Hopefully you can see me now. All right, what have we got? Perfect. All right, so that's 4 minutes that we've spent dedicated work. And that's one thing that you'll notice, those that have done some of these workshops with me, it's very much we're working together, but you're also working for yourself. So therefore we kind of do these things in silence. And even in the real world, let's say, I still do all of these workshops in person and using real stickies, just with stickies on walls, because we are kind of visual creatures, and it's much easier to work with lots of notes and things when you do it in a visual way. So we spent 4 minutes really checking in on the things that are moving us moving us forward and doing well for us. They're up the top, and we've got them down. We are working together as a team. So that's the great thing there is, as you've written some things down, we do find some double ups, and that's also really fine because that shows that we're aligned. When you have a lot of people writing the same thing, then that's actually a good thing because you see that they're aligned and they're thinking the same. But there's also then you can take a little bit of almost satisfaction in the fact that your team are also working with you. So if you don't capture everything, your colleagues may. And in this situation, we're kind of all colleagues and working together, even though we have different businesses. So those 4 minutes there are the things moving us forward. And then underneath the waterline, these are the things that look, if we just got these solved, or we got around to them, or we just were able to fix those things, we feel like we'd be getting closer to the goals that we have for our businesses or for our ideas, okay? Now, as they are, these notes are random, let's say, and even though they're a bit structured, they're not really in a format where we can start to use them or decide which one of these things to really work on. Obviously, in some cases, I find that businesses really do spend a lot of time thinking about the problems and working a lot on the problems, and then forgetting to realize that some of the things that they're doing that are working, if they did more of those things in the other time, then they would get closer to their goals. So for this next exercise, where what we're going to be doing is reframing these notes, or almost standardizing these notes so that they're in a format that all of us could use and decide on together. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing in this second board, and I'll just explain it so you can watch my screen for just a couple of minutes here, because I'm going to explain this short exercise called the How Might We exercise, and that's what we're going to be using to kind of turn all of our individual notes and our own note-taking style into challenges, right? Questions. So the notion of reframing the statements that we've made, or the problems that we've sort of highlighted, if we reframe them and ask questions, then what we tend to do is set them down as almost challenges, or lift the lid on the ceiling where we think that there might be a ceiling and we can't move ourselves forward, or there's a blocker there for some reason. So by reframing the statements as questions, we actually start to lift that ceiling off and lay them down as challenges. And as humans love a challenge, it's great when you're working in a team and everybody kind of like bees swarms around a particular challenge. That's what we're going to try to do now, and we're going to use our original notes to do that. So the How Might We exercise how you do it is you just take one post-it, a rectangular one. Normally you would write HMW in the top left-hand corner, right? How might we? And then we all start typing. So on your post-its, what you're going to be doing digitally is sticking the letters HMW, semicolon, and then writing. And the how might we then can be used, or we've used something, well, we've heard some before, where, for example, some businesses during the lockdown wanted to still engage and still know what was going on with their customers, and they needed to do that to obviously stay top of mind, right? So that we could tell them about our specials, or that we're doing takeaways now, or our new hours of service, or just our blog posts and social media posts. So there was a lot of that work going on, but for people to, or for businesses to then really decide and do that work, we started reframing those as challenges so that we could prioritize it. So when I start hearing statements like, how do I get in touch with my customers? How do I tell my customers what we're up to? Then that was an example statement. I would write that as, how might we keep our customers engaged during COVID-19? Or when other businesses were maybe wondering if they're a restaurant now, they're going to have to start to involve a delivery service. So how might we deliver to our customers? Of course, there's the go-to solutions, which would be, you know, hire someone out, get a van and all those things. But if you don't sort of reframe it, then you're always fixated on one solution. And by bringing it back and asking the question first, then we might come up with a bunch of different possible solutions. And for example, if I heard the statement like we're talking about during COVID, these collaborations and connections, you know, there were some businesses here. I'm down in the Busselton region, so you know, sort of the local baker and also the butcher, and then maybe a greengrocer. They were starting to wonder how we were going to actually get together and produce one web shop rather than all three of them running a web shop. So they decided to collaborate together. So they was coming out of the questions there as, you know, how do I work together and things like that. We reframed that and put that in a standardized sentence. Now it seems at first glance that's a bit, you know, why would we do that? And the great thing about this exercise really is it standardizes all of our fragmented note taking. As we can see here on our board, everybody writes their notes in different ways, right? So we're going to just use that board number one as inspiration to write some how might we challenges on the second board, okay? And that means we don't need to rewrite any necessarily think of new starting points here or new challenges. You really are maybe just taking a browse over this section here. It's clear that there's going to be some things that are down in the what are holding us back. And so do look at those things and kind of think, okay, are these real problems that I think if I worked on these, I'll actually start making progress on my project. So I would read through some of these notes down here and I would start to think about reframing them on this board over here as how might we. So if I was down here and I see this one, having the skills to network well for the benefit of my business. So this is a note that's down there and I could say, okay, how might we, HMW, develop networking skills that benefit my business. So that's just a very basic one. And there could be other semantic ways to reframe that statement, but just as an example then, that would be something that I looked through those notes and I thought, okay, that would be something right there that I would love to maybe know about and maybe get some inspiration about that one. And we go through, and if you get 2 or 3 out of this side, and do look at the things that are moving us forward, because if you're looking at one of the things moving forward and you haven't done that for your business, but you can see that it's working for another business over there, you might want to write a how might we statement, because that's the inspiration point. You might want to think about, so this person here is getting to lots of networking events. But then there's a note down here about not enough people at some of the networking events. So there could be a how might we in there, which is kind of asking the question, how might we get to the right or helpful networking events. And I'm just making these up, just going from those notes there. There could be other ways of understanding those notes. And there you even see the challenge that we're all, when we're working with teams, it is a challenge that if I say a statement, your understanding of that could be very different to Louise's understanding of that statement, or Robin's understanding. And that's just human nature right there. But that's why we use this how might we note, so we can standardize that. And then the semantics come from us working together and each of us writing our version of those notes. And then at a certain point, those semantics and the way that somebody else has written it, that speaks to us, and we can all align on that language and that understanding. All right, so I'm going to put up 5 minutes, so just a little bit longer as well. As I say, try to get to, it's a practice thing as well. This whole workshop as well is about you're learning these techniques because you can do them yourself straight away after. They're very simple, just with Post-its and a Sharpie, pulling your team together. So the whole idea is to practice here. There's no right or wrong way to write a how might we, because we'll all, they're essentially anonymous, and we'll all use these in the next round. Okay, so 5 minutes up on the clock to write how might we's inspired from the first board. All right, and you're looking to try and, we're looking to try and find the key impacts or the key challenges that are going to make a lot of impact on our collaboration projects. All right, but you don't need to get too worried about what the right one is yet. Write down all the ones that are right for you, and then we'll go through the process of prioritizing. Just got some brain music in the background. Hopefully that covers for you guys, or you can hear that. Yeah, pardon. Still about a minute. Do read through some of the things as well that are working for other teams and other people, and see if there's something in there. some definitely great challenges there as well. I'm just having my 3 cents as well and rewording a few as I understand them. About 30 seconds, I would say. So I maybe just get on to that last post-it. All right, guys, so finishing off that last post-it there, and I'll walk us through a way that we can prioritize these challenges, because it's clear that, you know, any business will be looking at these and thinking, gosh, that's a lot. We do need to get all of these solved, and that will get that. And once that's done, we'll be actually looking like we're in a good position, and we'll be, you know, moving forward on these collaboration projects as well. So there's a bunch of how might we's here. And as I mentioned, I'll just go back to my little presentation. What where we're up to now is basically we've stuck up, we've noted things down, and we've even then gone through and reframed them as challenges so that we can have these standardized notes. And now we can actually look at trying to pick them, as I mentioned, because we really could start to work on all of these, but there's, as some of the folks I've just noticed in there as well, some folks are writing, and they're just not enough time or resources in our own businesses to then maybe even get to these other projects, or these other projects that potentially might move us really quite a bit far forward in our business goals, right? So the way to do this is, instead of having a chat and a discussion about it, and usually what I see happen there is the person with the most authority in the room, let's say the highest in the hierarchy, of the owner, they make the decisions, but it's quite often that the customer service folks and the people that are really working day to day on the floor, let's say, they're the ones that are closest to where the customer needs are palpable, you know, and it's often that those voices are not heard so well. So it's a good idea to sort of remove the discussion, and to do that, we're going to use little dots or little votes, essentially. Now, on our digital whiteboard, that will mean that I'm going to make us a little voting session, okay? So the screen will kind of be a little bit different for a second there when I turn on this voting session, and we're going to call the voting session the discovering the high impact challenges. And what I mean by that is, you want to make sure, as we've just highlighted there, that there's not enough time and not enough resources. You want to make sure that the things that you are working on are the things that you kind of have either an absolute sureness that they are going to move you towards your goal, or that collectively as a team you feel like, yeah, if we just worked on this challenge, that will actually get us really close to the goals that we want to achieve, right? So I would call these like the high impact challenges. Now, it's good when you're working in a team like that, because then you're getting it from the different perspectives. Right now, we're all in different businesses, so what is high challenge or high impact challenge for you just may be the same for others in the workshop as well. So we've each got 3 dots, or 3 little bets, almost, let's call them that, bets, right? And what we're essentially saying with these bets is, I think that this will move us closer. We should work on this. And the way to vote then is, you just need to click on any of the post-its. So you've got your mouse is loaded with 3 votes. And every time you click on a post-it, it will kind of drop a little bet on it. Now, let's just say you dropped a little bet on one, and then you thought, oh, and I want to put it actually on another one. What you can do to remove that bet in the time frame is just hold your shift button and then click it again, and that post-it, and then that will lift the boat up, and then it will be back on your cursor, so you'll be able to drop it down. So you've got 3 votes. I'm going to give us though 4 minutes, so just a little bit of time, because I kind of think it's important to read through all of the How Might We challenges just once, a quick scan, and then you'll start to get a direction on which of the ones really sing out to you and your business. So you're really voting for yourself and being almost selfish there, because you think that I think these will be the important things to start working on. All right, so I'm going to put a timer on. Again, as just said, 4 minutes. Once I click this begin voting on your browser, now have a read through, and we're voting on the second canvas here, the 3 challenges you think we should really work on first. All right, so I'll put the timers on. You won't be able to see anybody else's cursor at the moment, and everybody's going through and placing votes on these How Might We statements or questions, challenges. Totally vote on your own ones. Feel free also to, and I encourage you to vote on the ones that others have also written. And it's supposed to be hard to choose which one. That's the idea, because often in teams, it's hard to make decisions. So therefore, we only get those 3 votes. It's supposed to be hard. Still a minute to get around and read them. It's actually a long time as well, and drop the votes where you feel we should work first. Last sort of 20 seconds. Kate, I tend to, perfect. So that's the time up there. I like that little sound. Kate, I can also answer. At the end, we'll send through a little summary of today's session as well. And that will also outline how you can do the exercise and show all of the input as well, rather than a video replay, I think. But Louise, you may circulate the video, I'm not sure. So we've had a vote. Great, I'll end that. So the screen is kind of just off for the minute. Let's just see where the votes went in, right? So this is almost like, as I mentioned, this prioritization. If we think about that circular, that kind of problem solving or creative problem solving loop, We're now at the bottom bit where we're prioritizing. This is kind of then the priority. And this is just working in with our group, right? So we're going from all of our collective perspective and experience, and where the heat is, I'm going to use the word heat rather than the winning one. It's just we think that there's a little bit of heat around this notion, and that is that how might we develop the networking skills that will benefit my business? This seems to be the biggest challenge holding folks back at the moment. And then we've also got a lot of heat around these other ones. Just excuse me for a second. I'll get that on as well. How might we help people think more out of the box and see the opportunities for collaboration? And how might we encourage others to outsource where they can and collaborate so they don't have to do it all themselves? That's almost the goal there. So that would be outsourcing or hiring is a bit of a question there to almost get myself out of the business, right? What are the tasks and things that I can I delegate? Then we have a little bit of heat around how might we even design or create a new product or service with a collaborator? And how might we connect the right kinds of businesses to enhance the opportunities? And then also around this, easily find the right collaborator. So there's a lot of heat around the how might we even discover and almost arrive at the point about which collaborators are right for me and what I want to do. So I think that that's also got a lot of heat, this notion there. So the way for us to move forward now, as I mentioned, we kind of at the point, if we just go back to our deck here and just onto my screen, we can see that generally that's how we go. When we've gone one time around that loop, note, stick, vote, and now we've prioritized, we do end up with this kind of a tiledy Christmas tree type formulation. And that's what we've got on our votes there. So we've been one time through the loop, and we've gotten to the point, which I think for a lot of people and a lot of teams, when they do this with inside their own businesses, they're always amazed that they can get to this point where they now have a prioritized list of challenges or tasks that they want to start working on. And often that whole meetings happen and we never arrive at that point where we figure out and agree on the things that we should be even working on. So I think one time through the loop is very worthwhile for discovering and aligning your team on why you're working on a challenge. And that could be not just a challenge in terms of, you know, these collaborations, but in any sort of decision that you're trying to make with your team. It's much nicer to work with your team and bring them along for the decision-making process and let them have some autonomy and ownership on the decision. And that exercise right there, that first way through the loop, is a good way of doing that. So we're going to then start looking at using the rest of the time in the workshop. So we still have a good half hour, despite my being a little late there, we're really right where we need to be at this point in the workshop. So we're going to start creating some solutions. Now, I'm going to pull out the top three, and then instead of just jumping straight into solutions, we're just going to find a little spark of inspiration. So we'll pull out our top three. I'll clip over and you can follow with me at the time. So we'll definitely pull out this top one. That's got the most amount of votes. This is 3. How might we develop the skills, my networking skills? So I'm just going to grab that over here and I'm going to bring it over to our third canvas, our kind of solution spark canvas. And I'm going to put that challenge up there. So we're going to work on that one. That's how might we develop our networking skills or networking skills that will benefit my business. All right, so that's definitely one challenge that we're going to work on. And let's move over to what the second was. We had a few votes, and I would say this is around the notion of even discovering the right collaborators. So we've got 2 here. Discovering the right, where is that? Identifying good opportunities for collaboration was 1, and there's another 2 here. That was that one. Make sure I just pull down the results page. Bear with me. Oops. Let's have a look where the results page is here. And we've got, there it is. help people think more out of the box, encourage to outsource, and connect the right kinds of businesses. That was, I think that this is a notion that a few of the semantics are trying to get. So the right kinds of businesses, how can I identify them as well? This is also something that it's not every business or your mate's business is the right one to develop. And there was it came up in one of the other post-its as well about the trust, as well as all sorts of things involved with finding the right business to collaborate, connect, and I would almost just add in there discover and connect, just to capture some of the sentiments from the other post-its that were similarly voted on. So we've got 2, and I think we can go for a third in here as well. That also was with the results page. This one here around even how to just do that. So I've connected with the right person, but now I'm working with this person from another business. I need a way to even work on it. And that's maybe represented in this, how might we co-design a new product or service? So there, so there's this, I'll just copy that over from over here. There, grab that one there. This, how might we in the middle that we've got discover and connect, just for you guys to follow why I've put that one there, because this one over here, where it says help people think more out of the box to see the opportunities. I'll just drag that over as a semantics here, because that's kind of what is meant as well in there. So these are the same challenge there. It's just a few semantics, and you can see there's sometimes not the hard and fast way to make sure these workshops are working. And if you're doing this with your team as well, then, you know, feel free, if you're facilitating that, you know, to have a little bit of leeway in there, and to bring the team along with you for the workshop is far more important than having the hard and fast. Yeah, that did happen. Sorry, Kate, I just got confused. I was looking for a different link there, and I'll get back to that notes, to the notes as well. So we've got these 3 challenges, right? This is what we're going to now work on for our last part of this workshop, which is going to be how to come up with as many ideas as fast as possible, now that we've identified the top challenges that we feel like we should be working on, right? But before we do that, we're just going to watch a couple of stories from some local businesses who have been collaborating in the recent months. And we've Louise and Robin and the team at BSW Connect have just made this little video with a few interviews with some local businesses. Now, I think just for the volume, I might need to take my headphones out. Let's just see what is now as inspiration for you guys for how we might approach and solve some of these problems. And here we're hearing some of the stories of collaborations and how they came about from 3 local businesses. So I'll put these on now. I'm sure you can hear those. Everyone's here.
Hi, I'm Suzette Vinci. I have 2 small businesses. One's a Herbal Emporium, which is a tea company, and the other is Down South Farm Fresh, which is a fruit and vegetable delivery and pickup business. Within that business, we do lots of collaborating, and one of my favourite collaborating is with Down South Farm Fresh. And with that, especially with COVID, we had to think differently. And what we chose to do was collaborate with some businesses that offered a pickup service for us. One of those spaces was a gourmet food merchant in Kawarama. They're a beautiful store, and they welcomed us into their space and let us put our boxes there and let our customers come and pick their produce up. Another store is Aspens in Margaret River. They're a kitchen space, so it kind of worked. We've got food, they've got things to actually cook with. So and Meredith is actually a long-term customer of ours. So she was really happy to have us come into her space, let us leave our boxes there and have our customers pick up. And Casey at Simply Rorgeous, Well, she does raw food, and we've worked together on numerous collaborations before, but she opened up her own little space. And so now we bring our boxes in, she has her space open, and our customers pick up from her, and you can pick up her raw foods at the same time. She opens up a kitchen, she has all these beautiful cakes, and it's just lovely. I find these little collaborations work really well because our businesses are all different, our customers are different, and we're introducing different customers to each of our businesses. And that is pretty much why I like to collaborate. For us, it works.
Hi, I'm Raj Palan, owner of Funky Monkey Eatery and Bar Bunbury, and we are opening one in Fremantle soon. Recently, we collaborated with the Nationals leader Colin Holt and Jeff from the Swamp Riders in terms of bringing the music industry, live music industry up. Because of the pandemic, everything came to a standstill, and then out of this pandemic, we did our own online ordering system, takeaways and things like that, and we collaborated with Colin Holt and the music industry in terms of doing live gigs at our venue every Friday from 6 to 7. That helped them also in terms of their live gigs, helped us also in terms of our business because of the takeaways. And live streaming on Facebook got at least 2,000-3,000 viewers that used to view, and that collaboration is still going on because every Friday and Saturday we got live gigs that played over here, helping them in terms of getting them work and helping us in terms of people supporting this collaboration and coming down and supporting the music industry.
Hi, I'm Alicia and I'm the owner of AF Accounting and Business Services. What I'm here to talk about is the collaboration and why you would do it and why you would select a competitor like I did when I decided to collaborate. So when we come across the COVID times, realistically for me, the biggest thing that I noticed was that people were struggling. People were struggling big time. And when I looked at it, I thought, how can I help? I mean, me as an individual, I can help a little bit, but realistically, I wanted to try and give something back that was bigger than just what I could do. So I went out to some of my competition and I sort of said to them, this is my idea. I want to do some videos and actually put it out there, but I want it to come from a group of people. So it's not just, hey, I'm looking for work, but it's from a heap of trusted people that every single person can go, hey, that's my accountant and she's working with that accountant. So for me, rather than actually going and doing this by myself, I decided to collaborate with a group of people that I trusted, and being that I'm an accountant and in a local area and we've got the most amazing people here that I get to work with, I thought, why not? And you'd think that it's strange because going and collaborating with a competitor, you'd think, why would you do that? They're only just going to steal your work, or are you just trying to steal their work or whatever? But the thing that came out from everything was that people actually looked back at me and went, you know what, you're really brave for doing that and for actually going out with a competitor and doing something together and acting like a team rather than just as an individual. A few years ago, I had a competitor that actually started, and they started with the same business name. It was just a couple of initials that changed. And my first thought was, are you serious? This person has come out with the same business name as me. I had an option right there to get my goat up and just get angry about it. But I decided not to. And what I actually did is I called this person and I said, hey, I know what it's like starting your business from scratch. And I know how hard it is in our industry. If you ever need anything, I'm here. Shout out. And you know what she did? And now, 2 years later, we have the best relationship and she helps me out with so many different things and I help her. So don't just think of collaborating as a why should I do this or whatever. It's a really good opportunity for everyone. And if you work together, it makes things so much easier for everyone.
Perfect. All right, so there is a few inspiring stories about ways that other businesses have gone out and been able to connect and start developing even a product or a service that fit for their business. Okay, and we've gone through our workshop and we've come through finding out where we are you know, about trying to even find looking for the connections, things that are going well, maybe things holding back where we've talked about them down there, and we've reframed those statements as how might we challenges, and we've voted on those to come across a collective 3 where even if these are not, let's say you're on 1 or 2 of these you're doing well with, but there might be another one of these that for you this challenge is part of where you are with your business or with your idea. So we're going to go through now and have 5 minutes on the clock, and we're actually going to come up with just different ideas using the inspiration from those videos as well as sparks. And we just drop, basically I like to use blue. You'll notice that I start to color code things over time as well. When I'll just drop some of these random blue post-its. So feel free to click into these and start writing. But I'd love everyone to now spend the next 5 minutes thinking about these 3 questions. And if you've seen other things, or you've been told about, let's say, solutions here, or you've got a solution in mind for one of these, just drop it inside these blue post-its, or you guys drop a new post-it down. That's really fine as well. And we're just answering, and the idea here is quantity over quality, right? So we're going to put 5 minutes on the clock here, and I'll put some tunes on in the brain, or to cover the brain sort of cogs going round. But work your way through and just see if you've got an idea or 2 as answers or even solutions, possible solutions for these questions. It's really not about being right. It's about us getting as many down as possible. So I'll put those background just to cover the background there. And 5 minutes is on the clock. Oh, that went quick. Right, the last posted. Last posted, and then we'll move on. Okay, so we've got a bunch of ideas down here. Some of them will work for us. Some will be may not speak to us or our businesses. But for us to now go and find out, because as I said before, the aim of this workshop is to give you kind of a framework, a basic framework that you can also use for yourself about coming up with these perfect starting points or the next steps as well, because we've gone through and we may have had lots of confusion. Now we've picked which problems we want to work on, and now we've got a bunch of ideas that we could start working on. But of course, we can't go and work on all of these ideas. So we're going to prioritize them using our own experience and our collective experience, okay? So start another voting session, and we'll call this one the next steps, or ideas to try or to work on in the next, and I like to time box things, right, in the next 2 weeks. So that just gives you almost like a fake deadline, right? And that's how to start. Having that mindset as well is the way to actually get the ball rolling on some of these things. Oh, I've got the voting session up and running. Okay, and it's the same again. You've got 3 votes. You don't have to vote in one section. You can vote in a complete other section as well. We're just dropping 3 votes on here. I'm just hoping that my battery carries on for the end of the session. So the voting session has started now. Hopefully that doesn't cut out my battery there. Just found that it was the last few minutes of due. So I've got the voting, and I've got 3 minutes up on the clock. You need to go through and vote on the ideas you think would bring you closer, or that you could start with. I've got 5 minutes up on the clock. Last minute just to have a look through and make that vote. Last minute there. Oh, perfect. All right, that was the time. I'll just stop there. So just drop in that last vote of yours if you've got any outstanding. And let's see where the votes all fell. Okay. Just need to end the voting session here. Yep. And then we'll see where the votes all landed. Okay. It's coming up. All right. So we've got our top three and the most heat here. Just to reiterate that we've got the create an experiment or a short taster of 2 weeks to start the ball rolling. So this is just breaking it down into a small test, take the pressure off both parties and try something out. As we heard from some of the other, from those videos there, just getting it started sometimes is the best way to sort of keep and make a successful product. And so there's a lot of heat around maybe that notion of just break it down into a smaller, take the pressure off, make an experiment, try something out with a small piece of stock or try a one-off and then learn what worked, what doesn't, speak to the customers and then try again for another week or another 2 weeks. And then you'll slowly develop and find out if there's a collaboration. Well, one, you'll figure out that you're collaborating with the person as well. Just doing the work together sometimes I find is the best way to know if it's a good collaboration. And then you'll be able to judge how successful it is once you start getting feedback and if you get sales. So that's definitely something that I would definitely encourage everybody to do and to use that strategy to just make and take the pressure off it by calling these things sort of experiments or testers, all right? And the time boxing there is the key thing, making a short period of time. Then we've got more heat around more tailored networking events, so maybe having things for industry sectors. I would also just add in that as well, I find a lot of innovation happens and a lot of opportunity happens when you start looking outside your own sector and using other businesses and other sectors as inspiration, because if it's worked in another sector, then there's a good chance that it may work for your business as well if there's an idea. So as well as the networking events by industry sectors, do go and check out other industries or products in other industries and services there where you think that that's inspiring and that you'd like to do that for your business. And we've got more heat around what others are doing in your industry. So definitely using that as inspiration and using that as a way to kind of connect. That's also a good introduction for those folks as well who are maybe a little bit shy or don't know what the way to approach other people is. There is sort of that notion of maybe, you know, asking them a question about one of their products or one of their services, or even commenting and say, I really find that inspiring what you've done there. I'm doing this work over at this company. Would you have time for a coffee? And that sometimes is the only thing that you need to sort of break the ice, break down the barrier and start working with these people. I like this one, this heat here around, and I would also encourage folks there as well to analyze your supply chain. That's another one down there about mapping your customer journeys as well. That's what I would say as well about your supply chain. Just write it out or draw it out. And then when you get that all up in there, you can start to see who is working where and what actions on your supply chain are actually happening. And right there, those other companies or other people along your supply chain, there could be ways to collaborate there. For example, even sharing blog posts or writing combined blog posts about how your business works together. That is a good way to get some engagement, and that's a good collaboration to start with, because that'll get engagement for both companies and kind of start the marketing or start the joint marketing of both companies at both maybe ends of a supply chain. So that's a really great one. I also really encourage that. So glad to see that also voted up, because these are things that you can go and do straight away. And then working with industry bodies as well to facilitate. Go and speak to the other industry or to the lead peak bodies there. And then they will know generally what's happening in the industry as well. And there could be some of those unique collaboration opportunities. For example, here during pandemic, the one down here, local distillery collaborated with another business to make their own hand sanitizer, right? So I think that's a good, I think there was, Wise Winery did it down there, or there are other soap manufacturers and things like that. So a few of those almost adaptations to existing businesses as well just happened during the pandemic, because we needed to use our resources and start monetizing them. So that's also a good place to start looking as well. I'll just add that in there. If you've got waste, or there are sort of things that come off as you're building your product, the waste sometimes is also a new product, because somebody else might be able to repurpose that. If I'm thinking about, the off or the scraps of maybe the raw juice product, these raw scraps could maybe be used by an organic composter business or composting business. And then there's no waste in the whole production, and two businesses get to profit out of and make two products. So we're going to be able to put all of these voting and all of these sparks up on a kind of email that back out to you as well. I'll get that short report, that executive summary over to you as well. Hopefully, if it looks like my computer's fading and doing all sorts of weird stuff, I think it's because the juice is running out of it right on time. If that cuts out, I'll connect via mobile. But a second loop through our problem solving, almost like creative problem solving loop. And now we're at the point that we even have almost a stack of prioritized ideas, where we're saying collectively, if we started working on these ideas, there are all these other ideas and challenges down there, that's fine. But if we start with these ones right there, we'll start to build the momentum around our collaboration and our collective products and services that we're trying to build together. All right, so that's brought us to the end of the workshop. As I said, 2 times through that loop, but we've put a different lens on it this time. So rather than it being so broad, we've brought it closer to what are the next steps that you could try yourselves in your businesses as well. So just before I may hand over to Louise, just to round us up there, because as I understand it, that's the second part of the 4th part of a series of workshops that have come to a close.
Yes, that is it. Thank you so much, Michael, for running through today and facilitating this wonderful workshop for us. We hope everyone has got a lot out of it. As you mentioned, this is the final workshop in the Business Improvement Workshop series. We hope that everyone has enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. And that everything's propelling you forward in your business. This series was brought to you by the City of Bunbury and presented by BSW Connect. And if you'd like more practical business workshops and events, please head to the BSW Connect website, which is bswconnect.com.au, to see our calendar of events for the remainder of the year. Thank you again, Michael, for everything. It was a wonderful session, and yeah, we're looking forward to moving forward in our businesses now.
Yes, thanks so much for Louise and Robin for reaching out and getting me to please feel free to write to me as well. And Louise and Robin, do let the folks know in the group as well if they just have a question about processes or the workshops and stuff like that. Let me know as well, and I can send through some different little tips handy as well.
Perfect.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy your
Great.
afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.